Call this January 5th, 2023 meeting of the Zoning Board of Adjustment to order. Roll call, please.
Mr. Roger Aaron's.
Here.
Ms. Cynthia Schaefer. Here. Mr. Steve Farcio.
Here.
Mr. Randy Block.
Here.
Mr. James Ferraro. He's excused.
He's excused.
Mr. Bradford Perry.
Here.
Mr. Rasul Domji.
Here.
Township Planner, Mr. Jeffrey Vaccarella.
Here.
Board Attorney, Mr. John Drill.
Here.
Landscape Architect, Mr. John Morgan Thomas.
Here.
Traffic Consultant, Mr. Jay Troutman.
Excuse, yes.
Board Planner, Ms. Jessica Caldwell. Temporary Board Engineer, Mr. Mark Katruniak.
Here.
Temporary Board Engineering Expert, Mr. Larry Plevier.
Here.
He's here. You gotta talk louder, Larry.
Here. Can you hear me?
Board Stenographer, Ms. Jackie Clapp.
Excused.
Okay.
Okay. The agenda calls for a closed executive session. Yes. I'm sorry. Thank you. Yes, I'll make that motion to excuse those board members that are absent.
Second, Brad Perry.
Roll call.
Mr. Roger Aaron's.
Yes.
Ms. Cynthia Schaefer.
Yes.
Mr. Steve Farcio.
Yep.
Mr. Randy Block.
Yes.
Mr. Bradford Perry.
Yes.
Mr. Azul Domji.
Yes. Okay, the agenda calls for an executive closed session. However, what I'd like to do is to recommend to the board that since Larry was out sick after his accident, and that we've not seen that much of either Larry or Mark, what I'd like to do, unless any of you disagree, is I'd like to suggest that we extend both of them for another 3 months as engineers to the board. If anybody has an objection to that suggestion, please let me know. Nope, I'm good.
No
Anybody else?
objection.
All right, then there's no need for a closed executive session. So I think we can move on to notice of meeting. There are no comments, announcements, election of officers.
I do have a comment.
Yes.
I don't make comment. I don't make many comments, so I want to make a comment. I just want to, thank you, Roger, and thank everybody that has been dealing with all these meetings, our professionals. I don't think, a lot of times we're running around. I know I am all the time. I think it's really important to acknowledge the fact that we have really good people here. And just the fact that, I always need the reminders. And, I've had people on this board, Roger, Cynthia, you guys at the times have always reached out to me. These meetings go very smoothly, in my opinion. And our professionals, I think, are top notch. And I've been in front of a lot of boards. And I know I'm an attorney, but this guy, I'm learning more probably. I should get CLE credits from you. But I want to just honestly, and I know Jeff's picked up a lot of slack here, and he's really done a really good job. And I think that really should be noticed. And I think sometimes when you're, I'm not the employer, but when you are an employer, or you're in a business, or you're in a township, at times we seem to overlook some of those things. I think that's something that we should not do. Taylor and Lisa have been great, been awesome, actually. And I know that I haven't been too great on the emails. I'll try to do that as best I can, but just been great. So I just want to thank everybody. The meetings have been going great, and especially to our professionals. I can't say enough, because all the reports that we get are so detailed, and the guidance that we get are great. So I think it's also a benefit to our applicants in this township, and hopefully they understand that, these professionals that we have, and what we're trying to do is to do the best thing for the township, but also hopefully help people out at the same time. So I just want to make that comment.
Here, here. I made similar comments at the last meeting, and there was one exception that I forgot. The only person that I did not thank was Jackie Clapp. And I'd like to go on record to say, Jackie, I apologize. I didn't mention you by name. I think I got all of the other board professionals, the board members, but I left off Jackie. My apologies.
And just on that note, just so everybody understands in the legal world, she's like a legend. She's a machine. And she really, what I love about her is she'll tell you she'll tell you if she has a problem. So, thank God for Jackie.
Any other comments? Okay, we're up to election of officers. We have nominations for chair.
Like to make a nominate, I'd like to nominate Roger Aaron's.
I will second that, Steve Farcio.
Roll call, Lisa. If
Mr.
there are no
Roger-
other nominations,
I don't see any other nominations.
okay,
Mm-mm. Mr. Roger Aaron's,
yes.
Miss Cynthia Schaefer,
Yes.
Mr. Steve Farcio,
Yes.
Mr. Randy Block,
Yes.
Mr. Bradford Perry,
Yes.
Mr. Razul Damji.
Yes. Okay, vice chair. I'd like to nominate Cynthia Schaefer as vice chair. She was vice chair this past year, did an excellent job, especially as president the year before. I hope that she would accept that position again this coming year.
Yes.
I'll second that, Steve Farcio.
Any other nominations from the floor? Roll call,
Mr. Roger Aaron's,
yes.
Miss Cynthia Schaefer,
Yes.
Mr. Steve Farcio,
Yes.
Mr. Randy Block,
Yes.
Mr. Bradford Perry,
Yes.
Mr. Razul Damji.
Yes. Okay, Vice Chair Pro Tem. Kevin Cool has left us, unfortunately, sadly, and that position is now open. I'd like to nominate Bradford Perry. Brad has been on the board now for a while and has done a good job, and I would very much like to see him in that slot.
I will second that, Steve Farcio.
Any other nominations from the floor?
Nope.
Roll call?
Mr. Roger Aaron's,
Yes.
Miss Cynthia Schaefer,
Yes.
Mr. Steve Farcio,
Yep.
Mr. Randy Block,
Yes.
Mr. Bradford Perry,
Yes.
Mr. Razul Damji.
Yes. All right, move on to the resolutions that we have to adopt, and I apologize, this is going to take a little while. For those of you who are waiting for the start of the first application.
Actually, no, the resolutions are in the same form they've been last year.
Year after year?
I think what to do is, why don't you just run down the list of the appointments,
Perfect.
do the names, and then have one motion at the end to adopt the standard form resolution that the board has used in past years.
Excellent. Okay. The nominations that we have are the appointment of the Board of Adjustment Attorney, the Board of Adjustment Planner, the Board of Adjustment Engineer, of which there will be two. The Board of Adjustment Traffic Engineering Expert, the Board of Adjustment Landscape Architect Expert, the Board of Adjustment Radio Frequency Expert, the Board of Adjustment Secretary / Assistant Secretary, the Board of Adjustment Stenographer, the Board of Adjustment Conflict Engineer, which we will not have this year because we have two engineers. So one can serve as the conflict engineer if the other has a conflict. The Board of Adjustment Geotechnical and Structural Engineers, the Board of Adjustment Conflict Traffic Engineer. Those are the appointments that we have for 2023.
Roger, who writes the resolutions?
Those are done by Lisa and Taylor.
And there's been no change whatsoever to the text of those?
There are a couple of very minor changes that I picked up, and I'm glad you asked that question, Brad. In the resolution appointing the board planning expert, down under at the very bottom, under number 2, it says the board planning expert shall be compensated in accordance with arrangements to be made between, it says them, it should read him and the township.
Can I ask you something?
Yes.
Are you guys going to appoint 2 planning experts? Just like 2 engineers?
That's true because we do have a, yeah, there is a,
Then is correct.
yes, you're correct. You're absolutely right.
What's not correct is that the resolution be appointing planning board experts,
Yes, correct.
and it should name both of them, not just one of them.
Right.
Okay, just, can I interrupt for a second? So there's the next resolution. Says resolution appointing board planning expert, and that's the one for Jessica Caldwell. Do you want to combine the two into one resolution?
Yes, let's do it
So you'll have Jeff Vaccarella, and then number 2 would be Jessica Caldwell, and then the planning board expert shall be compensated.
Now, I would do it as, number 1 is Jessica Caldwell.
Okay.
And
Okay,
Jeffrey Vaccarella
okay.
are
Are hereby appointed.
hereby appointed planning experts.
Yep,
The board planning experts.
yep,
As well as any other planning experts from Caldwell and Associates as designated by the board, shall provide such blah, 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 blah. The number 3, the planning board experts shall be compensated in accordance with the arrangements to be made between them and the township.
Correct.
okay.
All right, the next correction would be on the resolution appointing the board engineering expert. And this is Larry's appointment. Number 1, under now therefore, it says Larry Plevier, PECMER. It should be is.
And again, if you want it
Combined.
combined,
They are separate, both Larry's and Mark's, so they could be combined.
if you want, right?
Yes,
And I know that you said you wanted to appoint them both 3 months ago.
yes.
It's up to you. You could appoint them both for the year and just decide who's getting what.
All right, well, that'll save us, that will save,
So we don't have to keep on.
again,
every
correct.
3 months.
Yeah.
So you could combine them into one, both of them for the year, just like you just did with the plan.
How does everyone feel about that? I see head shaking yes.
Yes.
Okay,
So why don't we, for now, take the one that was set up. Which one came first?
I believe,
Alphabetical order. Mark's came first,
yes, Mark's is first.
get rid of Larry's, and then we take Mark's and add, instead of experts. The board determined that Mark and Larry should be appointed as board engineering experts for the year. And number 1, Mark and Larry are hereby appointed board engineering experts for the year. The board engineering experts, as well as other engineers from Ferraro and Mott McDonald, as designated by the board, shall provide the additional. Number 3, the board engineering experts shall be compensated for arrangements made between them and the township.
Correct.
I think all the other resolutions are in order.
The stenographer resolution,
Okay?
under the first paragraph, where it starts, whereas, last line of that paragraph, it says to any interested party at his, it should be /her expense.
Where is that?
Okay, this is the stenographer, first
Yeah.
paragraph,
Right?
last line in that paragraph. To any interested party at his/her expense. All the other places, the language is different. Right here, right there. Okay.
I see that up in that whereas paragraph.
Got it.
All right. John, that brings us down to meeting schedule.
But someone should make a motion.
Got a motion
Yes,
to-
to approve them
to
all.
adopt all these resolutions as revised.
I'll make a motion.
I second it.
Is that Bradford or Randy?
Randy.
Randy. Roll call?
Okay, Chairman, Mr. Roger Aaron's.
Yes.
Vice Chair, Ms. Cynthia Schaefer.
Yes.
Mr. Steve Farcio.
Yes.
Mr. Randy Block.
Yes.
Vice Chair Pro Temp, Mr. Bradford Perry.
Yes.
Mr. Razul Damji.
Yes.
Okay, I'm handing over the reins to Taylor now. She's been appointed as the board secretary. It's
And
been a
Lisa,
pleasure.
and Lisa, we'd like to thank you for the wonderful job you did.
My pleasure. It's been nice. I enjoyed myself and I learned a lot, so I'll miss you
Good.
all. I'll be sitting by Steve next time.
Thank you very much.
My pleasure.
All right, we're down to resolution establishing meeting schedule. John, there are no changes here other than the dates. Can I read the dates out? Since,
Actually, you have to state that.
okay. The dates of the board's 2023 regular and special meetings are as follows. And what I'll do is read first the regular meeting date, then the special meeting date. January 5, regular meeting, special meeting the 19th, February 2nd, February 16th, March 2nd, March 16th, April 6th, April 20th, May 4th, May 18th, June 1, June 15th, July 6th, July 20th, August 3, August 17, September 7, September 21, October 5, October 19, December 2, and December 16. Note that we have 2 meetings in November, which is most unusual. Normally, we only have 1 in November. And then December 7th and December the 21st.
So that second meeting in November is just in case.
Yes, correct.
If that's during the week of the League of Municipalities, and most of your experts are going to be in Atlantic City at that conference, but you never know.
All right. Can we continue on and adopt them all?
Right, and we should just, I think, just for the record, point out paragraph 3 of the resolution, even though the board did this last year. Years past before last year, this wasn't in.
Paragraph 3 reads, due to the COVID-19 global pandemic, the meeting may be held over, correct, may be held over the Zoom platform. Notice of such will be listed on the meeting agenda and posted to the township website 6 days prior to the meeting. Okay, now the resolution adopting rules and regulations for 2023. That is the same as last year.
Right, there's no changes, no one suggested any changes to those rules.
And I've been through the rules. I didn't see anything. Did anyone else see anything on the rules?
And if you don't see it tonight, you can see it any other time, they can be amended at any time.
All right. There are no changes. We'll move on to the designation of newspapers to receive meeting agendas.
Administrative thing to make one motion at the end to adopt them all, yes?
Yes, correct. The designation of newspapers to receive meeting agendas and notices of applications for 2023. Again, this is very, very similar to last year. The papers being designated are the Hunterdon County Democrat, the Courier News, and the Star Ledger. There are no changes there. And then lastly, the resolution delegating completeness, incompleteness, and completeness waiver determinations. Yes. Did I not mention Trenton Times? I said Star Ledger.
It's not in there, but
No, there is no Trenton Times listed.
it's
The
always
Trent,
on-
the
it's
Trent Times was not on the last one.
Right.
I went from the previous year and Trent Times was not listed.
Okay, so then we should take it out of the notice of the meeting.
Okay,
Well, you could always put it in a Trenton Times. for the
Okay.
Notice of meetings. because
Okay.
That's Open Public Meetings Act notice. You can, because Open Public Meetings Act notice has to be in at least 2 newspapers. The MLUL notices only have to be in 1 newspaper.
Okay,
So it would give someone the ability, if there was a special meeting and you couldn't get it for some reason, the Star Ledger right now, quite frankly, go ask Mr. Bloomberg, like, how many days ahead you need to get something into the Star Ledger now, which is a daily, to get a legal? It's like a week.
Yeah.
okay.
So this just gives another option, but I believe, that's Lisa, which are the official newspapers for the township?
The township is the Courier News, the Hunterdon County Democrat, and who's the Express Times
Ah,
for the
okay.
township committee.
Okay,
Are we putting anything in the Trenton Times
No,
at all?
I do
No?
not. Not since
Okay.
I've been here in the past 5 years.
All right.
Is the township committee also using an official electronic?
Yes, we are. We're using Tap Into and a new news source called, I believe it's Hunterdon County News.
Yeah, but
Quote me,
That's-
Hunterdon County
yeah.
News, but that's brand new.
they're using them, but legally,
They're not,
it's not recognized by the MLUL
no,
or by the Open Public Meetings Act.
right.
So it's another means of getting things out there, but no one can rely on it.
Okay, we're down to the resolution delegating completeness, incompleteness, and completeness waiver determination to township planner and board secretary. This resolution is basically the same. It's only the names that have changed. It is now Jeff and Taylor Vaughn.
And quite frankly, the resolution doesn't mention names on purpose, it mentions positions.
Correct. All right. Could I have a motion to adopt all of these resolutions? So moved. Thank you.
I'll second.
Roll call, Lisa?
Taylor.
Chairman, Mr. Roger Aaron's,
Yes.
Vice Chair, Ms. Cynthia Schaefer,
Yes.
Mr. Steve Farcio,
Yes.
Mr. Randy Block,
Yes.
Vice Chair Pro Temp, Mr. Bradford Perry,
Yes.
Mr. Russell Domji.
Yes.
Thank you.
Mhm.
All right. Our first application for the night.
2022-08.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Beginning to
Yeah.
bite off my huge
Right.
pile or.
How could I forget that? How could I forget those 21 pages? We have resolution 2022-8, ESCO Precision Inc. It's block 36.02, lots 14, 15, and 16. That's BOA case number 10-2021. Does anyone have any additional corrections? We've had numerous drafts, versions of that. Any other corrections?
I do. From Jeff, I left out a C2 variance to allow a side yard setback deviation for the placement of the stormwater management system. So I'm going to add that one to page 5 under paragraph 3, where I list all the relief. And then the reason that was, and we're going to add the fact that it has been granted to the section that talks about which resolution, which variances are granted, which will be on page 14, and then the reasons for it were that it was a C2 variance, and what the board agreed with the applicant that it was going to advance the purposes of stormwater management by allowing for infiltration, because this portion of the site was the only site that perked. So in order to do infiltration down into the ground, it had to be there. So with those revisions, and tomorrow, because this is not just some typos, tomorrow I'll add that stuff in. But with those revisions, I'm hoping someone will make a motion to adopt it, and this draft will become draft number 3. Today's date on it.
I'll make a motion. Go ahead.
And
Go ahead,
the
Steve.
People that are qualified to make a motion: Aaron's, Schaefer, Block, Farcio, Perry.
I'll make that motion.
And I'll second it.
The third revision.
Right. Correct.
As corrected.
Right. That's right.
Roll call. Taylor?
Okay. Chairman, Mr. Roger Aaron's,
Yes.
Vice Chair, Ms. Cynthia Schaefer,
Yes.
Mr. Steve Farcio,
Yes.
Mr. Randy Block,
Yes.
Vice Chair Pro Tem, Mr. Bradford Perry,
Yes.
Mr. Russell Domji.
He's not
Okay.
on there. Okay, and
All right.
Mark Tool and Mark Ferraro absent, Tool no longer a member. Okay.
Okay. Our first case is BOA case 14-2022. The applicant Stuart McCray, location block 73, lot 6. The application is for a C variance for an accessory structure that exceeds 800 square feet in a front yard. Jeff, do you want to bring us up to date on that?
Yeah, before the last meeting, I met with Mr. McCray to decide on the location and for him to reduce the size from 1,600 to 800 square feet. He's going to move it closer to his house, but his property is an upside down U where Dory Dilts is curved, so he will likely require a C variance for the location. It's still going to be in front of the house, but it's
Let me ask you this. Does he have to renotice? I believe the first
No.
notice included 2 variances. Now it's going to only be 1 variance.
Yep.
This can be carried without need for further notice if there's a date certain. Do you have a date certain to suggest?
He would like the 19th, but he is waiting for a revised survey, so.
Not making that date.
Yeah.
So you have another date certain?
And do we need an extension?
We do.
an extension is required. It was only for the end of January.
Okay, so then my suggestion is someone make a motion, once we get a date, to carry it without any further notice to that date on the condition that you grant an extension 60 days beyond that date. And if he doesn't grant the extension, then the application will be dismissed without prejudice.
February 16th.
So, someone want to make a motion to carry the hearing to February 16th without need for further notice, provided that Mr. McRae grant the board an extension of the time to decide the application to March 31. And if he doesn't grant the extension, then the application will be listed for dismissal without prejudice on January 19th.
So moved as stated by Mr. Drill.
Second.
Roll call. Kelly?
Chairman, Mr. Roger Aaron's.
Yes.
Vice Chair, Ms. Cynthia Schaefer.
Yes.
Mr. Steve Farcio,
Yes.
Mr. Randy Block,
Yes.
Mr. Vice Chair Pro Tem, Mr. Bradford Perry,
Yes.
and Mr. Russell Domji.
Yes. So I'm not going to do a resolution on that motion, so we just have to, make sure it's in the minutes, and if you want me to do the language, I will.
Our second case is BOA case number 22-2021. The applicant is Salim Basha Abdul Bashir. Location block 6.07, lot 39. The address is 61 Old Clinton Road. The application is for a C variance, planning variances. Mr. Gruenberg?
Evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. I submitted a correspondence earlier today with respect to this application. We try to address all of the board's professionals' review correspondence to try and expedite the hearing process. And I don't have revised plans to show you tonight. We were hoping to have them in advance, but I guess with Christmas and New Year's and everything, it took a little longer.
Cut to the chase.
We're asking for an adjournment. And we're asking that you continue the matter without further public notice required.
Right,
And
you're
I've
asking-
granted the extension until the end of March.
Right, so you're asking for to have it carried to February 16th?
That's the date that Mr. Baccarella gave me.
So the same thing with Mr. McCrae, you granted the extension to March 31, so you don't need the,
Yeah, and it's in writing.
yeah, and it's in writing. So this one doesn't need a motion, this just needs an announcement. The hearing on application 22-2021, the Bashir application is going to be carried February 16th without need further notice, and they've extended to March 31, 2023.
Oh, okay. I've been making that mistake all week.
All right, our third application is BOA case 12-2022. The applicant is 457 Realty LLC. The location block 36, lot 67. The address 457 Highway 202. The application is for D variance with C variances for two principal uses. Mr. Grunberg, Happy New Year.
Good evening again. This is our application for various relief to allow 457 Realty to have two principal uses on the same lot. And we have provided proof of service and publication of the notice of hearing beforehand, and I'd ask that jurisdiction be confirmed.
So, board planning after just what we called what we, a memo, supplemental memo, say, dated December 16th. So the last paragraph asks about additional storage warehouse use, accessory, incidental, the office use of those two sections. What procedurally, where we going with that?
Procedurally, we're going to present testimony that the storage use is customarily incidental to the business office use and therefore does not require a use variance. But I provided notice in the alternative that if the board doesn't agree with that analysis, that we would ask for that use variance relief. So I provided notice in the alternative, but our interpretation is that it is a permitted use in the zone, although we still need use variance relief for two other things.
Jessica's point was, till you get something, some testimony in there that it's accessory, And if the board granted it, obviously, there'd be a condition saying it's accessory, you can't have separate warehouse and separate office, correct?
Correct. And we covered the alternative in our,
In the notes.
in the notes.
That's what I wanted to know.
So can you say that I did it right?
Yes, so, yes, so I'm gonna ask, have you guys reviewed the certified?
Yes,
They in order.
yes.
And I reviewed the content of the notice, especially with the last statement made by Mr. Bloomberg, the notice is in order, in my opinion, for the board of jurisdiction.
Thank you. So again, this is our application. What we want to do is have, in conjunction with the existing hair salon, a business use in the back for Mr. Szymanski's heating and plumbing business. It would really constitute an office and some indoor storage that would be incidental to that type of business office for the business. It requires 2 use variances. One is to allow 2 principal uses on the same lot, which is prohibited in Raritan Township. Somebody made that argument a couple of years ago.
Yeah, I remember.
And
To recall back.
yeah, and somebody agreed with me.
Yeah, that's true.
And the other use variances, we have a request for outdoor storage in a very limited basis to have the storage of gravel behind the dumpster area. It's not any equipment or vehicles or anything like that. It's a very minuscule outdoor storage area for gravel that my client and the professionals will testify to. We have a number of C variances that our engineer will go through as well, and some design waivers too. And I already made the argument with respect to the customary incidental as to the indoor storage. I have 3 witnesses this evening, Mr. Szymanski, Mr. Ardman, and Ms. McManus. And if you want to swear them all in at once.
And the board has 4 witnesses, 3 of whom you see at this table, and 1 of whom is up on the screen. So, can all the witnesses stand up? Standing there. Yeah, there you go. Now we got it right. Everyone raise their right hand. Does everyone swear or affirm the testimony that you give in this matter will be the truth, all the truth, and the truth? Can you start one by one, just come up to the mic, slowly identify yourself, spell your last name, especially in your case.
Joseph Szymanski, SHAMANSKI.
And you are the
I'm the owner.
Principal of the applicant.
next.
Mitchell Ardman, ARDMAN, Principal Civil Engineer for the project.
You're the applicant's engineering expert.
Correct.
Good evening. My name is Elizabeth McManus, MCM, ANUS, and I'm the applicant's planner.
Jeff Vaccarella, Township Planner.
John Thomas, Board Landscape Architectural Expert.
Larry Clavier, Board Engineer.
So I'd like to proceed with Mr. Szymanski's testimony, if I may.
Mr. Szymanski is a fact witness, correct?
That is correct. And Mr. Szymanski, why don't you tell the board a little bit about your background in terms of where do you currently live?
I live in Flemington with my wife and 4 children.
Raritan Township?
Yes.
And
Mr.
how long-
Szymanski, can you pull the mic just a little closer to you?
Hello,
Thank you.
is that better?
That's good.
Sorry.
Yeah, you got to get right into that mic.
The rule, you know, awful acoustics.
And John, you're actually hard to hear too.
Okay, take care of that one. See this microphone? This is my mic. See that microphone? That's for the rest of them.
And how long have you lived in Raritan Township?
About 18 years.
And you have children?
Yes, 4 children.
And have they gone to the Raritan Township school system?
Yes, one point I had one in 4 different schools.
Okay. And what type of business are you in?
Heating and air conditioning.
And how long have you been involved in that business?
Since this business, I've been a business owner since '04, but this business started in 2017.
And has it been in Raritan Township area throughout that time?
No, it's been in Three Bridges.
Okay, right down the road.
Yes,
But you service Raritan Township.
correct.
And when did you and your wife purchase 457 Route 202?
It was 2018, I believe it was.
Okay, and what was the purpose of you purchasing that property?
For what I'm here for, there was an existing salon there. She wanted a salon and I wanted to move in the back. So it was kind of like we'd be together in one spot. And
So the existing, when you purchased the property, there was an existing hair salon there and a residence / office in the back?
correct.
And your intention is to continue the hair salon use and to run your business in the rear of the property, correct?
Correct. Yes.
And tell me just a little bit about your wife's business. What's the name of it?
Love Your Hair Salon.
And how many employees are there?
She has 6 employees.
And how many chairs are there?
There are a total of 6 chairs.
Okay, but are the chairs all occupied at the same time?
No, everyone's, it's not like everyone's there 8 to 4, everyone's scattered. You know, they work different shifts and different days and
The busiest day for the hair salon is what day?
Saturday.
Okay,
No
and let's talk a little bit about your business. What type of business is it?
My business?
Yes.
It's heating and air conditioning. It's just an office. We service people roughly within a 1 mile radius. And I have 2 girls in the office. One's part-time. And me. And I have the guys that are out and about, you know, taking care of.
When you say you have the guys, those aren't people who are actually working on site, they're actually working off-site, correct?
Yes, yeah.
And-
Nobody works on site other than the office people. That's it.
Okay, and there's going to be a storage component as part of this, the improvements, correct?
Correct.
And are you going to do any fabricating in that storage area? Are you going to do anything other than store equipment and material?
It's strictly, I went, gave you an estimate, they should be in their system. They would store it there.
Meaning you would store a boiler, you'd store forced hot air, you'd store piping.
Yes. Built there.
And are you a subcontractor to general contractors, or do you only do direct for residential and commercial customers?
I do both. It's all just equipment and it's just like the miscellaneous materials that kind of go along with installing equipment.
And do your employees who do the installations, they have company vans, or they have, and where are the company vans parked at night? What do you have parked, Steve, I'm sorry to do this here, I just want to, where do you have, what will be parked overnight at the site? Anything?
Nothing. The only time I would say, and it doesn't even really happen, sometimes you may get a guy that goes away for a vacation. You know, then sometimes depending upon how busy we are. But other than that, stay there. Yeah. The only other time, sometimes we have to get a work on. And I switch vehicles, the next morning, nothing's permanent.
All right, Steve, no more interruptions from me at this time.
Yeah, I was going to say, wait a minute. I'm going to put that in stone.
Steve, hey, Steve, can you just check to see that his microphone's working?
I don't think it is.
I don't think it is.
Really? I thought it was.
It was.
I only say that because I don't know if anybody can hear.
You don't take mine.
Just make sure you hold that up, because if you don't, we won't.
Thanks. What type of deliveries are made to the site?
Just deliveries, UPS deliveries, you know, like you get at your house. And then.
Put that up there. Yeah.
Is it working?
Yeah, that's better.
Really has to get close. Yeah, just UPS deliveries. And then when they deliver like, you know, like a boiler or a furnace or whatever, they usually come in like those like U-Haul trucks that you can rent. It's like something like that size. And they come and they drop it off and go on their way.
You don't have tractor trailer deliveries?
No.
The, what's the largest size truck that would be delivered, that doing deliveries?
So those ones that you can rent without a license, I want to say they're probably 20 foot long.
Okay.
They're probably not much length longer than like a UPS truck. They're just taller.
But no commercial CG.
Nothing that you need a CDL for, nothing, nothing tractor trailer wise or anything like that.
Let's talk about customers for your business on site. How often do customers come to your site?
Very rarely. The only time they really would come, sometimes they come to drop off a check. Other than that, there's really no, or drop off a contract or something like that. There's really no reason for them to come.
And you're not doing any retail sales out of as part of your business, correct?
No.
So it's purely business office use with the storage for your business, which is what you're proposing.
Correct.
There were some questions in some of the board's professionals' reports regarding the outdoor storage of that gravel. What's your intention of that outdoor storage of the gravel?
When we install a condenser, underneath it, we put like 3 inches or a couple inches of gravel underneath it to level out the pad, so that way when you set the unit, it's level. So, you know, we get like they come and they get Home Depot buckets and scoop it in there and they load it on a truck, and then that's how they use to level it off.
Okay. And how big an area would you ask for this gravel storage to be?
I mean, it's
shown on the plans.
Yeah, I mean, it's not much, but probably smaller than this table, to be honest with you. It's maybe like a ton or two of stone.
Okay.
That's all it is.
And why did you choose the location that you did?
Because it's hidden behind the garbage cans and it would be fenced in. So that way it's not a.
Is it shown on some plan where that is?
Yeah, we're going to have Mr. Ardman could testify to. I just want to tell him what the use of it was.
Can you explain how you access the outdoor storage if it's behind the dumpster?
We could just move the dumpsters on. Yeah.
Loud.
Yeah, you could just move the dumpsters. They're not big dumpsters.
Into the parking area?
Yeah. Well, it's in the loading area, I believe it was.
Yeah, we'll show that on a plan. We'll show that through Mr. Ardman's testimony, how we access it. I really wanted to just tell him what it's for.
And it's specifically gravel?
Yeah, it's just like it's like small little stones. And you know, who knows, they may not even have to move the garbage cans, because all they have to do is load up like 4 buckets of those Home Depot buckets. So they might even be able to get behind there without even moving anything. We don't know until it's up.
But to deliver the gravel there, you would have to move.
Yeah, yes.
That's all the questions I have.
And that's only about maybe twice a year or so that they make a delivery on. It's not like it's a every month thing or anything like that, because that pile lasts me quite a while. I think last year, maybe last year I might have had 3 deliveries, maybe.
Okay.
You know, so it's not like it's an every month or every week occurrence.
Okay. How big is the gravel pile?
We'll show it on the plan. It's on the plan.
Okay.
Mr. Grunberg, in the addendum to your application that you filed, in your second paragraph toward the bottom of it says, historically, the site has accommodated 2 principal uses in the past, i.e. a hair salon and residential office use. And Mr. Szymanski testified to that. Can you explain that a little further? Obviously, this was the previous owner. How was that second, what was that second use? Was this a residence that was also used as office space? Is that how it worked?
Yeah, I believe the history goes back that it was a house originally.
Right.
Then they took a portion, I think it was the right, if you're looking at the building, the right side, I think they made that a salon, and then they expanded it to the other side, and then they put an addition on the back. And the owners of the salon lived back there, and that was like considered their office and their living quarters.
Okay.
while they
Roger,
owned the
where are you
salon.
reading from?
Yes, this is dated applicant, and it says planning board, Raritan Township Planning Board and Zoning Board of Adjustment. This is the application for zoning variances. And this
It's
is,
the addendum to my
Right.
application.
right here. Yep, right here. Okay,
I know that Mr. Vaccarella had did some investigation too from the
That was the
township's
next-
perspectives, and his report indicates some prior uses. We're not saying that this business office use is a permitted use. We're
Right.
just merely pointing out.
Right, they're not saying that there was a lawfully created pre-existing non-conformity entitled to remain.
okay.
They're coming in saying,
Yep.
we need the D1 variance. Is that correct, Mr. Bloomberg?
That's correct. We're pointing out that previously the site did accommodate two separate principal uses, but I'm not relying upon that.
It
We're
was
coming in with our
specifically
proofs.
residential. There were no offices that
Okay.
the township recognized.
All right. Thank you.
Sure.
I do have a question. You went through a lot of questioning regarding parking. I just want some clarity on that. So I have two specific questions. One is, on average, like you said, there are 6 seats there, right? So probably there are 6 people using the parking spot. On average, what is that? You didn't mention a number, like on average. And then on Saturday, when it's high traffic, what's that number? That's one question. And then the second one is, what would be the incremental usage with the parking with what has been recommended for the second usage?
Cover that or? Okay, why don't you talk a little bit about how many, the parking usage based upon what's there now and what you expect by the addition of your business?
Thank you.
Yep, I want to start with, I think, Mr. Dimes, you want to say, if there are 6 chairs and 6 employees, even though you testified that the 6 are never there at the same time, conceivably, the 6 could be there at the same time, which would be 6 cars for them and 6 customers, which would be 12 cars. So I think what the board, if they're going to be inclined to grant this, they're going to want some sort of condition saying you can't have more than X. So how many parking spaces do you have available on the site?
11.
So if you have 11 available parking spaces, potential, and I'm not even talking about the potential to have 6
Incremental.
people in the chairs, 6 people coming in, waiting for appointments for 18, and then your business with parking, that's where his question is going to. How many parking spaces are you going to need, recognizing that once you say something, I'm going to write it down?
Let me just help explain something about the 6 chairs, though, because the 6 chairs, those are actually dedicated spaces for an employee, correct?
For a stylist.
For a
For a stylist, and some of those employees are just receptionists that are there. So it's not necessarily
Well,
gonna
when you say
be,
chairs, everyone's assuming you're talking about a chair where someone's having their hair done. You're not talking about that? You're counting a chair like the chair behind the reception desk?
well, yeah, no, there's 6 chairs to do hair in,
Okay.
but they're not, she has 6 employees. Even if they were all there at the same time, 2 of them split time answering the phone, so they're not even allowed to use the chair, I guess is what I'm saying. And the other employees, they don't, her busiest day is Saturday, which we're not there.
Can I make a suggestion? Mr. Groomer, why don't you ask for a 5-minute recess? Because ultimately what they're gonna wanna know is, what sort of condition can he live with? So they can be assured that if they were gonna get to the point of granting this, there's not gonna be a parking problem. Let's just, I wanna get right to the bottom line to. Sure. Can they take a 5-minute recess?
We'll be in recess until 5 of 8.
I think it's
There we go.
easier for me to say it and for Mr. Szymanski to say that he agrees, but the numbers are that there would be a maximum of 3 chairs in use during,
At any one time.
no, let me finish, during the week.
Hold on. 3 chairs in use at any one time during the week.
During the week,
Hold on. Any one time during the week. And that's
which
Monday-
results,
Monday through Friday, right?
right, which results in a max, three customers, 3 employees, 1 receptionist, and the 3 people for the business.
What about 3 overlap potential?
But there isn't a 3 overlap potential. That's the maximum that we could have on site.
A maximum of 3 chairs in use at any one time during the week, Monday through Friday, which results in, give it to me slowly.
It results in a maximum of three customers, 3 employees.
3 customers in chairs,
Mhm.
3 employees attending to the customers,
1 receptionist,
1 receptionist,
and then the business use, which would have 1.5 people at any time, because he said he had a full-time and a part-time employee
Is that
and
Monday?
himself.
Is that Monday to Friday?
Yes.
It's not one
But
and a
not on
half.
Saturday.
Oh, all right, then 3.
Right, it's no more than.
But they're
3.
not there always at the same
I
time, is what
understand,
I'm
but no
saying.
more than 3 at any one time.
Correct.
Hold on for a second. That's a total of potential 10 cars.
Right.
There's 9 spaces.
There's 11 spaces.
11 spaces, okay. But, so someone put in some testimony about how there won't be any potential if you have someone scheduled for 9 and someone scheduled for 10, and the 9 o'clock is running late, or the 10 o'clock gets there early, that you have no potential for overlap customers.
Can you provide that testimony?
I mean, I guess that could happen. What I'll say is nobody, other than my office girls, they're there 8 to 4. Their times are all scattered and their days are scattered. So I was just trying to pick the busiest day of what would be the worst case scenario.
Right, but the worst case scenario, quite frankly, is 3 overlaps on top of it, which would bring you to 13, and you have 11 spaces. When we get to Mr. Erdman, can you just,
Not working.
is there a possibility to move it from 11 to 13
Those
spaces?
other people aren't working.
Even though you haven't been qualified yet? Because just shake your head yes to Steve, but if so, I suggest you go that route.
No, there's not an ability to have additional parking. But going on to the Saturday, which is the busiest day,
Before we go to that, I want to help you. I think what our attorney is saying, Mr. Drill, is can you give a testimony, at least you're going to be planning for this, considering there may be overlaps?
In other words, what's the plan if you have
What is
3
your
overlaps?
plan? Like you schedule appointments, your plan intentionally, your plan is to use 10 parking spots. instead of 11.
I mean, I guess if it got to that, I mean, I'm not there all the time neither. If I have to leave, I could leave if I have to. That
That
could
would
be,
free up 1 space.
you know, I mean, my hours. Yes, and most of the people work later at night. So and we're closed at that point.
Yeah, so why
You know,
don't
so that's
okay.
why
All
why
right,
it's,
so let's get into that a little. What are your hours of operation versus your wife's salon's hours of operation?
we're Monday through Friday, 8 to 4 for Szymanski.
Okay,
and your wife's hours of operation.
Her hours are, Monday, she's closed. Tuesday through Friday, she is 10 to 8, and Saturday, she's 9 to 4.
What the busiest times for her, are they in mid to late afternoon?
Yeah, definitely, because everyone works, so she's busier late. The later the day gets, the more busier she gets.
So, and that's generally when your business would be closed?
Yeah, we're done at 4. They do not, they're out of the door at 4:01.
Has there ever been a parking issue from what she's been on in operation now, correct?
No.
And with the existing parking in the front, which is only 7 spaces, has she
Yes.
experienced any difficulty
No.
with parking on site?
No.
Has any neighbor complained about the parking on site, given her operation with only 7 parking spaces?
No, not at all.
When you have emergency calls on the weekend, your men go directly from their home to the job where the emergency exists. They wouldn't be coming into the office.
Correct.
And what about your receptionists? Would they be coming in? This is Shemansky now. Would they be coming in at all on Saturday or Sunday? No.
In 5 years, I've never had no one come in.
Okay, so why don't you go to
The only thing I would say is I may go in if I have to for some reason, but my office girls do not work on
So
Saturdays.
on Saturdays, your office is closed, correct?
100%, yeah.
And that the salon gets a little busier than where there's 4 chairs maximum
Yes.
that are used,
Yes,
correct?
Correct.
And that would be 4 customers, 4 attendants, plus 1 receptionist.
Correct.
But you and your staff aren't there.
No. Nope. We are never there.
And that's only on Saturday, correct?
That's Saturday, yeah.
Sunday, all business is off.
We're both closed on Sunday and she's closed on Monday.
Okay. So again, there hasn't been any parking issue with the 7 spots for her current business, correct?
No.
And we're
that's-
adding 4 spots for 3 more, for just 3 more parking uses, correct?
Yes.
So what you're saying is the applicant's going to take a condition limiting no more than 3 chairs in use Monday through Friday and no more than 4 chairs in use Saturday and Sunday
Correct.
for the salon.
Correct.
Did that answer your question, sir?
Yes, yes, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Does the salon have any kind of retail aspect to it, or is there retail sales of products, or would people be going there to purchase the shampoo that they get from that location or anything?
Now, the only time they purchase stuff is if they're done with their hair and they grab on the display that she has there. That's it. I don't recall her ever having people say, hey, I want to come in here and buy shampoo. It doesn't, they usually go to Ulta or something like that for stuff like that.
Okay.
I have a question about the businesses and the layout of the office.
That would probably be good
That's
for
what I thought.
Mr. Ardman, but we can try it, but
I think you should try it because I know her question, which she asked me, and I suggested that she ask Mr. Arden, the applicant first.
well, I wasn't here for that, so I don't know.
So in looking at the floor plan,
Mhm.
you have the salon in the front and your office is in the back. And you have an entryway that they're not divided. The 2 businesses are not separate. There seems to be how you can walk from one business to the other through
First of
this.
all, is that correct?
Is that correct?
When you walk, well, through the handicap ramp, you walk in, if you went straight, you can go into my office. And if I believe you go right, you go into her section.
Right, but so if you go right, there's, on the drawing, there's dotted lines to go right. What is that? Is that a pocket door? Is that, it's not the drawing of a door.
I believe it's for handicap.
I think that's an existing wall that's going to be removed.
It's going to be open. It's going
Yeah.
to be open.
It's going to be open?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there should be no dotted line there.
Well, no, the dash lines represent existing to be removed. That's common for
Is that
construction.
what-
drawings.
Okay, all right. So
Yeah,
it'll
that's
be
part of,
open.
yeah, that's part of the existing layout, which they're gonna, when they do the addition, they'll knock that part of the wall out to open it up for the foyer. And the foyers, It kind of works with both because if they eliminate and separate the two, they're gonna need two ADA accessible routes.
Okay,
So
So,
this
all right.
way, they get the ADA for both uses through the one spot space.
all right.
That's
And-
correct.
And so then the break room is common.
Yes.
So then let's go to the back of the building where you have an entryway with a floor and a reception.
Yes.
I'm,
My area you're talking about, right?
Yes, your
Szymanski.
area.
Okay.
I'm a little confused because I think you said that you don't have any customers come in. So I'm
No.
just trying to understand the purpose of the foyer and the reception area.
Well, it's if a customer does come. So that way, like right now in my office, that like they just walk in. You know, it's like anyone can just walk in.
Mhm.
So we're trying to avoid that.
Okay,
That's all that is.
You mean you just walk into your work area? So you're trying to have an area where they could walk into?
Well, no, like my office now, if you were to walk in it, you're just gonna barge in
Right,
on us.
that's what I'm
Yeah.
saying. So you're
Yeah.
trying to set up an area so if a customer comes in, they're not in your workspace.
Yes, sorry, yeah.
can we get internal measurements?
Internal
Yeah,
measurements?
The foyer and the reception area looks as big as,
This is for Mitch Hardman.
yeah,
Yeah,
Or somebody here, they have, don't bring a scale with, these are scale drawings, right?
Yes.
They show, there's no, hey, there it is, 1/4 inch equals 1 foot. Okay, yeah.
okay.
Can you put a scale on that?
Yeah. He can provide that. That's.
I think the easiest way to do it is have Mr. Hardman get a scale and put it on.
And we can wait till he
Yeah.
testifies. It's just that the
Yeah.
whole, as I'm looking at the drawing, for this piece of property and being so small, and what you're trying to do is, it comes across to me as we're trying to cram too much in. So I'm trying to visually see, the floor in the reception area looks as big as half the salon. And so I'm trying to figure this out. Why, if you're not having people come in, why would that be there? So again, we can wait till the engineer testifies.
Yeah, Steve, he's figuring, he's using his scale right now. When he gets up, he can answer those questions.
Just the last question. The salon and your business are separate businesses, correct?
Correct.
Separate books, separate.
Oh, yeah,
Okay,
yes.
so even though the building is being shared and like our engineer said, the ADA space is accessible for both, there's two separate businesses.
Correct.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
This portion.
Brandon, Brad. Okay, so this is not a question for this witness.
Yes, I just want to get Mr.
The
Hardman.
question is going to be, what's the size of the addition? Because it's unclear. There is an addition, it looks like. It looks like the addition is for storage. But it looks like part of the storage is in an existing building and part is going to be in an addition.
We'll get all that testimony from Mr. Hardman.
Because I think where the board might be headed is, do you need that addition? Can't you take some more space from the existing building and add that to storage? Why do you really need to add the additional square footage on there? But not to get ahead of anyone, but I think that that's on someone's mind.
The site plan shows the proposed storage areas, not the architecturals.
I'm sorry, Jeff, could you say that again?
Say it again.
The site plan shows the proposed storage area and addition, not the floor plans.
All right, I'm sorry, I have one more question.
It looks like the floor plans and the site plans are not totally coordinated. That's what he's trying to say.
Okay,
That's why we're having a hard time and you're having a hard time understanding.
what is the file room used for?
What's the what?
For
files. Well, I didn't hear the question or the answer.
What is the file room used for?
For, just like cabinets and, you know.
In
stuff
other
like
words,
this.
is it used for your estimate files and your billing records?
Yeah, all paperwork and stuff like that, yeah.
So
You should
only,
go electronic. I'm only kidding.
and what about your wife's business records? Also in that same file room?
No, she's, has an office in there.
Okay, and there's a space, closet, CL, right outside the file area.
I would have to see the plans, to
Sure.
be honest with you. There's just a couple closets, I don't wanna.
Yeah.
Access for what?
A crawl space.
On my side? Yeah, that's a crawl space for down below.
Oh, okay. All right, thank you.
Let me make sure Steve understands.
Back portion.
So this is closet, this is closet. That diagram, I'm sorry, no. I assume that was a desk. Yeah. Yeah. This looks as big as that. This looks as big as that.
Okay, they're gonna take the architectural drawing with a yellow highlighter. They're gonna highlight the new portions of the building on the architectural drawing so you can see what part is being proposed as new, and then you can see what's existing. I think they need another 5-minute recess.
Okay.
Steve, you want to
Take a recess until 8:25.
Just get it back on the record.
Yep.
Just so you know, because Jackie right now is out of action, if a transcript's needed, she'll do it off of the Zoom recording.
Okay,
Which will be a lot easier because she can see and hear.
good.
All right, we're back in session.
More questions?
Yeah, sure.
Yes.
Please take it the way we're trying to help you, okay? This question, I just want to put that qualification. The reason, I'm assuming, why my colleague was asking those space questions.
Can you go louder?
Yes, the reason we were asking those questions was if you look at your hard surface usage, right? Coverage is much, much higher with this extension. Okay. And so based on that, there are two questions I have. One, how are you can you optimize or maximize usage of your existing space? Can you try to explain us? And then why that's not, if answer is no, then why do you need that new space?
Yeah, I think what I'd like to do, if I could, is have Mr. Ardman testify as to our plan from an engineering standpoint, and also to address some of those issues with respect to the
I want to
space.
hear from
And then
the
I might
owner.
recall Mr. Shemansky, but it's, that way I'll have the exhibits in front of the
Yeah, I
board.
understand, but he's saying. he
Just
wants to know from
usage-wise.
Mr. Szymanski, do you really need every square foot of storage that's shown on the plan? That's what he wants to know.
Well, put it this way, I'll be getting boilers and furnaces. You gotta figure, especially starting next year, the condensers are getting bigger because of all these efficiency standards. So I mean, you could have a 40 by 40 footprint for one condenser. And that doesn't include a furnace, which could be 24 inches wide by 28 deep. So, when you start adding those up in there, it takes up space relatively quick. There's also like the installation materials, there's boxes of flex that are probably about this big by about this high, square.
If Jackie was here, Well, she'd say, this, that, give some dimensions. Jackie, I'm doing that for you.
Well, they range. I'm just trying to give like an average,
Yeah.
you know.
Say it in terms of feet or
In terms of
inches.
feet,
It's probably
you're showing about 4 feet high.
4 feet high, and they could be, depending upon the size of it, they could be anywhere from 5-inch to 20-inch square. You know, because there's round, 20-inch round in it, so
And how much of that material has to be stored?
well, it does add up, you know, because it's not just that, it's flex pads, miscellaneous electrical equipment, pipe, black pipe, PVC. It's just a lot of,
So his question is, how did you determine that you needed then the amount of square footage for storage that you're showing on the plan?
well, a lot of it is basically pipe. I'm figuring a pipe rack in
How
there.
long is the pipe rack?
Well, you get lengths of pipe that are 10 or 20 feet. So just for that alone. And then I was figuring, you know, condensers just kind of like lined up. That's like the biggest
The
thing.
condensers again are how large?
They could be as big as 40 by 40 square, and they could be about a good 3 or 4 feet high. And I don't even know how big they're going to get come next year because they're all getting bigger. So,
So the 20-foot length of pipe dictates a lot of the size of.
oh yeah, oh absolutely. Plus, on top of that, you have to, and you have to be able to move around in there too. You know, you can't.
How high
Can't-
is the ceiling in that storage room proposed? I'm looking,
That's 10 feet,
because something is,
I believe.
It's not dimensioned.
it's not dimensioned on the architectural elevation. A2.
It's 10 feet.
How many?
10.
You have more questions?
Yeah,
Why don't you
I
ask?
do have just a clarifying question. Are you suggesting that all this, what you just explained, cannot be stored indoor and it has to be outdoor, and that's the reason why you need this?
No,
No, it's indoor.
it's all indoor. All of that's
Indoor
indoor.
storage.
Indoor
That
storage.
storage is
Okay.
indoor.
He's
So
saying
my
that's why he
question was
needs,
for
he's saying he
outdoor.
can't store it outside. It's got to be stored indoors.
Indoor.
That's why he needs
My-
the area,
yeah.
correct?
So I understood right. So my question was more, why do you need that outdoor space?
Oh, for
Because
the
your
stone.
coverage is going,
You mean?
right, yeah.
Well, that's already covered because we have to put garbage cans there and fence it in. So it's just
Yeah,
going.
he wants to know, why can't you fit stone inside? If board members are okay with the size, why can't you put the stone inside? That's his question now. I'm being your interpreter.
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Well, because I would get a delivery, they would put a dump there and then I gotta bring it in. And then I gotta store it inside.
Is this gravel or is this stone dust?
It's like gravel, it's like real small stone. It's not,
I hate to sound naive, but when they did mine, they brought bags of that stuff. And so I'm just trying to figure out, bags could be stored inside. I don't understand the concept of you having, do you do that much business? Is that what you're saying? You do that much business? So you want the storage outside and then, like you said, they just come and dump a yard or two?
well, I guess I would say it's probably more of a convenience outside because
I mean, theoretically, if you needed stone to be put under a pad, you could go to the Home Depot, pick up a bag, bring it to the job site rather than storing it on site, correct? That would probably cost more, but you could do it that way, right?
cost more and I would have to buy probably half of the store. in
Or
bags.
you could have a delivery, instead of having delivery to your place, have it delivered to whatever the job site is.
Because it could be 2 different places. That's why, and the other thing too is when the guys come and they pick up the materials, they scoop it in a 5-gallon Home Depot bucket and are out.
Yeah, but that's what
You
that's what
know.
I'm asking. If it's
Give me
a
a second.
5-gallon bucket to put under the thing, why couldn't you go to the Home Depot and get 5 gallons of it? You wouldn't have to buy out half the store and put it under the pad. Instead of storing it outside behind 2 dumpsters that gotta be moved 3 or 4 times a year when you have a delivery.
We're abandoning the request for the D1 relief for outdoor storage for the gravel, and gravel will be stored inside.
So what is the shed being used for?
Like lawn equipment and, just snow blower and stuff like that.
I'm going to provide testimony with respect to that shed from Mr. Hartman. So I don't want to go too much in detail about that.
Any more questions of Mr. Semansky before we move to the engineer? Thank you.
No, thank you. Thank you.
If I could ask first, while I sit up, we have onlookers there, best spot for. That's a good question. Let's ask Larry. Watch this. If you put your thing like this.
It's at, yeah, it's out of range. Right where you're standing is the edge of the screen. Keep going, John. Keep going toward, yep. No, yep, there you go. Yep, good.
And what we have to do is raise up your catches on the bottom to make sure that the bottom of your exhibit, take a look. Bottom of the exhibit here, and Larry. Mr. Grunberg, we need to qualify your expert witness. Tilt it a little bit, tilt it more towards Larry, and then.
Yeah.
Yeah, see the camera? Yeah.
Still more. Yeah.
More.
Board members can come over and take a look. See this? Take a look up there.
I'm-
Larry has to be able to see it like this.
That's good, John, right there.
Maybe John can stand and hold it. John can squeeze it.
Honestly, if this is more of the, more or less plans from the plan set, as far as I'm concerned, the board members can be the ones viewing it, and I don't think necessarily need to see it.
Certainly. Once again, Mitchell Hardman. I'm the president of the Reynolds Group. I'm a licensed professional engineer in the state of New Jersey for over 25 years. Over that time, I've been providing site plan designs and testimony to planning boards and zoning boards as this throughout the state. Probably 100 boards throughout the state.
I offer Mr. Hardman as an expert in professional engineering.
Have you ever testified before this board?
I've testified in the township. I believe it was planning board. Magna Power was probably my last application in town.
We'll accept this witness as an expert.
Thank you. Your firm prepared the preliminary and final site plan with respect to this application?
Yes, we did.
And why don't you give the board an overview of the existing conditions and the proposed improvements?
Certainly.
Can I suggest that since Larry doesn't need to see that, can we bring it right up here so the board can see it?
Yeah, I think that's better.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's very good.
It would do. You can get right to the side of it like this.
Yep.
Okay, now
Now use the spotlight on it.
now we are set. So here's our property.
And
Exist-
what sheet are you on?
Yes, there's the existing conditions and demolition plan, sheet 2, last revised 8/10/22, the same as in your set. The site, as I'm outlining here, is block 36, lot 67. It's approximately 0.3 acres. It's 13,124 square feet. We have Route 202 on the left side of the plan. We have Millbrook Road on the right side of the plan. North is right on this plan.
I'm sorry, can I ask you to, yeah, a little bit closer with the mic?
Certainly.
That's better, thank
You
you.
got it. Please tell me. Yep. Very good. So the existing conditions on the plan, basically, we have the existing building that you've heard testimony on, the salon is here in the center of the site. We have a paved parking lot that's in front of the property with access off of Route 202 and then access out to Millbrook Road. There's a secondary gravel parking lot off of Millbrook Road on the north portion of the site where I'm referring to now. There's a shed on the back northerly corner of the property, along with a concrete pad in that area. There's also a dumpster which services this property, but happens to be just off the property onto lot 66. I'll describe that more in our proposed testimony that we have. The adjoining lots that we have here, we're right next to the Fudge Shop, was just east of us. We're just down from Case Road. At the corner of Case Road is our nice ice cream store that's been there for a while. Across the street on Mill Road is a residence, but that's on the B3 zone as we are as well. When you come down Millbrook Road, it's residential down Millbrook. That is a quiet road. There's no outlet there. It goes to one other street that goes to the back there. And so there's no outlet. So there is very minimal traffic on that road. That's Bury Lane that's down there. So as far as existing conditions, that's pretty much sums up the site. There's really only one existing tree on the property. The rest of it is lawn area. So that's pretty much the existing conditions on the site. And there's existing utilities that service the property. As far as the existing variance conditions that were shown in the notification, there are several. For front yard setbacks from Route 202, the front yard setback is 60.9 feet. 75 feet is required. The front yard setback from Millbrook Road is 14.2 feet. For the principal building again, to the east, the side yard setback is 8.7 feet, where 20 feet is required. Other existing variance conditions are the shed. 20 feet is also required for that setback. 2.6 feet is provided in that location. And to the rear yard, it's 16.9 feet. In regards to parking, there's parking in. So,
It's a corner lot, right?
Yes.
So technically, it's got two side yards and no rear yard.
Correct.
You just said rear yard.
Oh, you're correct. So that's a side yard requirement. That's 16.9. But that is, you're correct. We have labeled side yard setback on the plan. For the parking, 20 foot is required for the parking setback for the property line. That existing parking is 4 feet from the property line. The minimum lot width as well is for a corner lot is 200 feet, and it's 41.6 feet is the lot width.
The lot, listen, the lot size itself, the lot
Yeah.
area, the lot width.
Yeah.
It is what
It is,
It's not
yes.
changed, right?
That is correct.
And just for clarification, the off-street parking is a design waiver exception.
Yes, that's correct. Yep. And again, if I didn't state it, we are all in the B3 business community commercial zone, and that's where those standards are listed. So that's pretty much the existing conditions on the site. So I want to go to proposed conditions now.
That would be on sheet 3, correct?
That is correct. The dimension plan, sheet 3.
And that's going to be a color rendered sheet 3. I just want to make sure you give us the date. And the same underlying sheet. That everyone has in front of them.
Certainly, last revised 8/10/22.
Yep, okay.
Very good. Okay, so the subject of the application is the expansion of the building that we're talking about. So once again, the existing building in the center of the property in the light tan, the proposed building that we have shown here, it's kind of T-shaped addition that is in brown. Back on the existing conditions, just want to note one thing. In the westerly part of the site, there is a walk and a deck in that area that will be demolished. And I'll go over how these line up on the architectural plan.
Take a picture of this and email it to everyone. So everyone, that's the T, the darker brown, that represents the addition, is that correct?
That's correct. So that is the proposed addition. The front parking lot, as far as the pavement limits, remain exactly the same. The back parking lot, which is presently gravel, will be paved and upgraded. The 4 stalls will be up. Yep, right off of Millbrook Road. So that's in the northwest corner of property off of Millbrook Road. Will be paved, as I said. Will be 1 handicap stall, which will be striped in accordance with ADA requirements. From that parking stall, there'll be a new ramp installed for ADA accessibility. There was some discussion on that previously. There'll be 1 common door where you can come into the Szymanski business, or you could also go into the salon. So that will provide ADA accessibility to both of those businesses. For the parking lot at the northern part of the property, we have the dumpster location area, and that will be a fenced enclosed dumpster location. As I said, there's just a one which is actually off-site dumpster that will be removed, and all that stone that's off-site will be taken off the neighbor's property. That's just north of our property, and that'll be cleaned up and seeded as required.
Did you say how many parking spaces are in the lot?
Yes, there are 7 parking spaces in the front area along 202, and there are 4 proposed spaces along Millbrook Road for a total of 7.
Is that new parking area along Millbrook Road?
That's correct. There- Including the ADA space. And that is to provide additional room for, to come into the dumpster area that we're proposing. So that is, there's a 15-foot area, and that's the difference there. Could that potentially slide over and restripe it and steal 1 more space? We would look at that definitely if the board thinks that's important. But I think there was talk of many spaces. That would really be it, if we could steal a little bit here and there and then get 1 more space there. The dumpster area will be on top of, basically, there's an existing concrete pad in that northwest corner of the property, or northeast corner of the property, excuse me, and that's where the dumpster is going to go. The existing shed is shown here, and the square footages are also shown of the property for the various areas of the addition, of the various wings. The storage area, as noted, is going to be 540 square feet. The 2 different sections of the office addition, the one on the westerly side of the property behind what's the existing shop will be 272 square feet, and on the easterly side, to fill in the corner of the 2 existing walls of the building, would be 362 square feet.
So can you do that again slowly? So you're saying of the T,
Yes.
which is the addition, there are 3 areas in that addition.
Correct.
Okay, so give me the 3 areas again in square footage.
The storage area is 540 square feet. The north westerly addition is 272 square feet. That's going to be the entrance area. Well, let me go back to the architectural plan when I do that. So give me a second. Yeah, but I'm not going to, we're not going to. So that's going to be part of the office and the break room. That's going to be, well, actually, the office, the reception, and the foyer is going to be in that location.
Office, reception, and foyer is in the 272 square foot. We're calling it the north addition, but the north arrow goes to the right. That's really the western addition.
It's on the northerly side of the existing building, but so here's the existing building.
It is on the north.
What are you calling the addition to the left?
The easterly addition. Yeah. The 362 square feet. 62 square feet.
362. Yeah. And what's going to be in that 362 square feet addition?
The file room, office, and a hallway.
File, office, and hallway. So whose office is in the north addition and whose office is in the east addition?
The east
And
addition, that office will actually be for the salon.
Yeah.
The office, the north addition?
The north addition, going to be yours, right? Yeah, that's going to be Shemansky's office. Very good. So the total of all those areas come to 1,174 square feet. Right now, and we'll get into an alternate plan based on comments that your architect had. Right now, we are showing access to the storage portion of the building coming through the ADA striped out portion of the ADA access way. We have an alternate plan based on comments from your attorney, and I'll show that shortly. The other site improvement, we do realize we're adding impervious area. It does qualify as a minor as far as stormwater management goes, but we did provide a series of underground pipes for an underground detention basin system. The new drainage will be piped and roof drains will be piped to that underground system. It'll store the water. There'll be an outlet structure that meters that water out more slowly, and that will tie to an existing inlet on Millbrook Road that actually pipes up to 202. The good news on the stormwater is actually we don't flow, and the proposed addition or outflow doesn't flow to any neighbors. So even though we are showing an increase in impervious area, the stormwater will not affect any of our neighboring properties based on the underground detention and that we're piping it away from any of our neighbors. As far as lighting on the site, certainly.
You're increasing less than a quarter acre on impervious?
Yes.
Hey, John, what's the relevance of that question? The quarter?
Sure. So I stated that we are a minor stormwater impact as guidelines with the township and state standards. It's that for that to be correct, you have to be less than a quarter acre of impervious addition and less than 1 acre of total disturbance on the site.
How many acres of impervious are you proposing under a quarter? I assume it's like right up to the edge?
Not quite. I will get you that exact number in a moment to go on the record. The other site improvements is lighting, basically to provide better lighting on site. There'll be one LED fixture in the front parking lot, 15-foot high. All be the shoebox type lights that'll just be downward lit. Same thing with the paved parking spaces. the 4 spaces along Millbrook Road. Again, one 15-foot high fixture, downward lit. So there's no impact on neighboring properties for that.
I'm sorry, Jessica, I thought there was something with lighting that one of them was significant, I'm sorry. Go ahead,
I didn't recall a comment, but there might have been.
I could have confused application.
What number is that? What page and what number?
Page 9, number 14.
But just for Jackie's purposes, because you probably didn't hear that, I'm going to give you my microphone.
Yep.
Okay, so we're on page 9 of my report, item 14, code section 296-75G, number 9, maximum illumination at 5 feet inside an adjoining residential parcel or public right-of-way or beyond from an artificial light is 0.25. So you're up to 18.4. So that was the.
Let me review that also to see how much we can reduce that. Part of that, again, is I believe not residents, but does spill over into the right of way. But I'll look at that so I can respond.
Okay, my next question is to Jeff. Jeff, he described the stormwater management, the underwater. I'm not sure I see it in the drawings. Have you seen that? I mean, have you provided that to them? Jeff, have you seen that?
I've not.
Yeah, I've seen it.
I'm sorry. Thank you.
Yeah, it is shown on sheet 4, grading utility plan. It's a light line type along the, it's right near the right-of-way line. It's for compliance with local code and not state code, as it was stated. It doesn't meet the threshold for NJA 7:8. It's a local requirement for minor development, but they're tying the roof drains into an underground system. It's 2 15-inch polyethylene pipe.
Okay, so you've seen all that, Larry?
Yeah, yep.
Thank you.
Yep.
And the short.
And it's acceptable by
Microphone.
Is it acceptable by the solution they proposed?
Yeah, it is. They're throttling back or attenuating the flow from the site, and they're slowing it and releasing it to an existing catch basin. So there's no impact to the downstream storm sewer system or offsite.
And since we're on that topic, Larry did have some minor comments on that, and I'll stipulate that we will satisfy those comments. So the last thing I want to talk about before circling back to some of our new proposals and changes are the variances that we're proposing. So the addition, the building addition from the northwest corner of the proposed addition to Millbrook Road will now be 12.6 feet. There's also a ramp that goes in that location, that westerly side of the building, and that counts as building structure. And that ramp setback also to Millbrook Road is 8.1 feet.
Okay, hold up. I'm looking at, Jessica has a chart on her page 5. I just want to make sure that the dimensions that you are mentioning are also on her chart. So the last thing you said, I didn't see. You said 8 point, what feet from where to where?
From the ramp on the westerly side of the proposed addition to Millbrook Road. And that was one of the items I think that was called out that we did not have in our original cover sheet.
Yeah, so Jessica has minimum front yard setback, Millbrook Road. The existing is 14.2 feet, and she has 12.6 feet.
Both those numbers are correct for the building.
Okay, so you're saying there's an additional one for the ramp.
The ramp was called out that we need to meet the setback for the ramp as well as the structure. So that came up in the questions on noticing, et cetera.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think Jeff is nodding his head that
Yep,
he
now I
brought
get
that
it.
up. Yep. And that's that 8.1 feet that I'm referencing.
Now, is that ramp existing or that's proposed?
Totally proposed. There is no. And again, by providing that, you're providing ADA accessibility, which is not really provided at the site at this time. Next is in the dumpster I discussed in the northeast corner of the property, and the setback will be 1 foot off both the northern and the eastern property line. So both of those side yards will have a 1 foot setback for that dumpster.
Even where the 6-inch diameter gate post, that's 1 feet from that to the property line?
Yes, we took a look at that. And we can make sure that it's 1 foot off.
Can that be added to the plan?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
And again, it's a moot point at this time, but because it's on the plan, I just want to refer to it. In that dumpster, in the back of the garbage and recycling, there was a mound of the stone, and we will take that off the plan because that is no longer proposed.
I have a question about the parking. On Jessica's report, page 9, number 11, it basically is saying that the width of the parking spaces is 20, should be 25 feet wide for perpendicular parking, and you are proposing 23.3, is that correct?
Yeah, so that's not the stalls themselves, but the aisle. So,
Okay,
yeah.
Aisle?
I was thinking,
Yeah.
25-foot
Yeah.
wide. Drive a tank into that.
Yeah, I know,
Right.
I know.
And basically, the circulation is one way that you come on off of Route 202, make that right turn in, you park in your spot, but then you exit one way again into Billbrook Road. So again, this site's been here over 20 years. I've been passing it that whole time. I've seen it function adequately. It's a low turnover site. It's more than adequate for one-way traffic.
Okay, and I've passed the site, but I've never been on the site. So are you saying that that is only an entrance off of 202, from 202 onto it?
Correct.
So nobody leaves?
That's
Okay.
correct.
Thank you.
Yep. And just to finish up on the variances, we are within the FAR standard, 25% maximum, and the proposed is 23.0%. The lot coverage, which we've talked about, is the number that we are over. Permitted maximum is 55%. The existing condition is 59.2%, and the proposed is 67.9%. And although we discussed that it's a minor, I'll still get you the square footage that we talked about.
So based on what we spoke
Microphone.
based on what was discussed today, is there any way you can reduce that further?
We're going to get there. So we've had discussions with the client, but there are a few revisions I want to show based on the comments that we received between.
Fair enough.
Yep, between the last time that we were going to come and now we've been able to work on some changes that
Yeah.
we believe upgrade the project.
Prior to the last meeting, there had been some discussions in the board professionals' reports with respect to the loading area and the existence of the shed. And we took that opportunity in the meantime to do some alternate proposals to address some of those concerns, correct?
That's correct.
And do you have an exhibit that might show how we plan to address that?
I do.
It's going to be exhibit A2.
Can I just, I have a question that before we get off of the topic for the variances. You mentioned the 1 foot side yard for the dumpster enclosure, but for the principal structure on the east side or easterly, there's an existing 8.7 foot dimension from the side yard, which is non-compliant, but the proposed storage is 4 feet from the property line. So there's a variance required for the principal structure.
Yeah, that is correct. As you're noting, I noticed I didn't flip my page. So that is noted on our plan in that northeast corner that it is 4 feet. Thank you.
Yep.
And I believe there are a few more. The shed structure.
Right, the shed's says 1 foot, right?
We're gonna talk about the shed.
Yep.
next.
Yep.
And then the generator location.
Yeah, the generator location in the front yard. Yep. So, yeah, that's. I covered most of
And
it.
it's going to cover a bunch of structures, but they have to comply with principal. Accessory structures are treated as principal structures.
Yeah, so the board knows again on this exhibit A1 that I'm pointing to, basically alongside the existing hair salon on the west side towards Millbrook Road, we're proposing a generator in that area. It's going to basically be kind of a residential scale generator that'll be in that location, and we're going to landscape
How many
it.
watts? Some idea?
20, yeah, 20 kW. Yep.
Did you identify exhibit A2?
I have not yet. And I haven't marked it. So A2, we just have as an 11 by 17 handout, which we have a copy for everybody.
Identify A2 for purposes of the record. A2 is what? An 11 by 17 what?
A2 is a portion of the plan, not the entire plan. It's labeled Planning Board Exhibit 1, Loading Area Modification, sheet number E1 dated 12/15/22.
Hold on 1 second. I'm just gonna copy this in my hand.
And it shows basically the northern section of the property.
Okay, it does say planning board exhibit number 1. I thought you misspoke, but so we're just gonna cross out the planning part of it and leave it board.
Board, thank you.
Board exhibit number 1, loading area modification.
And it's basically the northern third to half of the property is shown on this plan.
And this is prepared to address a comment in my report. I assume this is to address the fact there's a double use for the loading area and for the access aisle for ADA parking.
That is correct.
Okay.
Larry, do you want us to bring one up? I'll tell you what, let me just try this. Yeah, hold it as close to the camera as possible. Look up on the screen. That's it. You hold it just like that.
Yeah, it's tough to see. That's all right. I'll listen, but I understand. I mean, what originally was done was the loading area was in the width. That's good. Thank you.
I'm gonna take a picture of it and we're gonna have it emailed to you right now.
All right, perfect.
Yeah. you can.
That's good. Thank you.
Okay.
I have
So,
a question.
yes.
So bottom line is you're reducing 44 square footage. Did I get that right based on the plan?
Yes, based on this change, there will be a reduction in overall impervious area.
And what is that in terms of percentage? Because I'm more concerned about that 66, whatever it was.
I'll get you that number also. Okay.
This
So,
exhibit also nicely shows the addition. on it
Yes,
with the
very good,
square
nicely
footage
done.
And everything. Very
Yes.
useful exhibit.
all right, thank you, thank you. Okay, so we took, Larry's comment and agree that it was correct. And basically what the loading area previously came from the Millbrook side of the property through the striped area of the handicap and into the door on the westerly side of the addition. We changed that up to take the, use the loading area basically in front of the dumpster because that's not a high use, and you've heard there's not a high use for deliveries to the site either. So it can come into the property, come straight towards the dumpster area, and then we have a proposed sidewalk, then that'll go to that addition and to the door in that storage. So we will remove the sidewalk that came from the handicap striped area. We will put in the sidewalk and the shed that's in location that was subject to discussion, that will be removed. So with all those changes, there is a net reduction of 44 square feet.
Okay, so for me, the net reduction is a result of A, shed removal,
Correct.
B,
A portion of sidewalk removal.
C,
That's it, only A and B.
portion of sidewalk.
That those offset, more than offset the proposed sidewalk that's shown on this exhibit.
And it also accomplishes not having the shared loading zone and handicap space.
Which was the, yes, primary goal of the plan change.
This question may be for Mr. Szymanski, but I heard testimony that there was some, I guess, lawn equipment or other things in the shed. The shed is now being proposed to be removed. So how is that changing what was being stored there?
Whatever's in there is gonna have to be inside now, inside the storage area.
Because we're eliminating the,
Roger, microphone.
sorry, because we're eliminating the gravel, is it possible to reduce the size of the concrete pad on which the garbage and recycling sit? Would that also make a further reduction?
Yeah, it would.
And I can't, from this, I can't really calculate because it doesn't show the exact measurements, but I'm assuming you're probably looking at a reduction of about a third.
I think on your previous drawing.
On the
And
previous-
actually, following up on Roger's question, the concrete pad looks ginormous in comparison to the garbage and recycling. What if you moved the garbage and recycling forward to the west? You could really cut down the amount of the concrete pad, couldn't you?
I think between everybody, we're gonna have a good plan when we're done with this. Yes, sir. No, seriously though, yes, we can. And our client just agreed, yes, we can move all that forward and we can reduce an area.
And then relocate the walk path.
The walk path, I think would remain the same, or that goes to the building.
Because they could figure that out.
Yeah,
That's not something he's
yeah.
gonna be able to answer
So-
right now, but.
Yeah,
So you're not going to like my idea, but I'm going to say it anyway. So the storage area, the back end is 4 feet from the property line, right?
yes,
Okay. You have two entries. You have the handicapped entrance and you have this back entrance. Okay? And the back entrance, the foyer and the reception, since I don't have measurements, I just drew it on a piece of paper.
mhm,
My suggestion is that you stay with the one entrance, the handicapped entrance, and you take the space of the foyer and the reception, and you take the back end of the storage, and you now make it more of a box than a rectangle. And you will take off all the way from the storage to the middle of the door, and then you put the door in the back.
So this door,
Here. Okay. So if you leave this as the entrance, okay, so you have one entrance,
Better go
okay?
up there and look.
You take this
You guys better
area,
go up there and look, make sure.
Okay.
see what you're doing.
take this area, okay, which is this size, which matches about to here. And you now move this over to here, so it's more of a box, and the doors come in the back. And so you still have the same square footage for your storage. You have just moved it up because you've wiped out the foyer and the reception, and you are forcing everybody to come through the entranceway, which is the entranceway to the salon also. So that takes away this chunk back here, which is 4 feet from the property line, and you flip it over to here.
If I can.
Okay, and I'm sorry to do that, but.
No, we've had some discussion, so what I would say is, we've looked at the storage area. Mr. Schmansky, based on his existing operation, knows what he needs. Could he lose a few square feet?
No, I'm not, don't lose any square footage. Don't lose any square footage. I'm saying eliminate this and make your storage here. Because this would fit in here. This area would fit in here. So it's right, because, and force everybody to come through here. No one's gonna walk into his office.
You guys have to, you guys speak one at a time.
So you take this piece, you put it here, and then these doors come back here. So now your storage area is the same square footage.
Yes, I understand that
Okay.
concept. My only question is, but the area that gets lost is the foyer and reception, and that has to get mixed in somewhere else.
I just make a suggestion. real quick.
You have an
You
entrance.
guys have to use a microphone because Jackie's gonna kill us. Okay? She cannot take all this down. We're on the record, so just use the microphone and one at a time.
So.
So let me, if I can.
Actually, where is the
You gotta
mic
use the microphone.
that's on the
So-
mic that,
Yeah, so if I can, understand what you're getting at, I have one more exhibit to present to show how we've addressed some of Mr. Thomas's comments to, for landscaping on the site, and to enhance that, and then we can
Yep, good,
talk about that.
Get everything you got, let's get it all put in, show to the board. A3.
All right, Exhibit A3, we're going to scratch out planning. It's going to be Board Exhibit number 2. Want to, Steve, just start off with Mr. Drill, so he's
This is
can peek at it as we're going.
A3?
So. So it's, this is a Board Exhibit number 2, additional landscape buffers / easement, sheet number E2 with a date of 12/15/22.
Thank you very much.
Exhibit 3, right? Not
A3,
A3.
sheet E2.
This is sheet
Sheet
E2. Exhibit A2 was sheet E1,
Yeah.
and exhibit A3
Yeah.
is sheet E2.
Correct.
Gotcha.
Certainly. So this plan shows the entire site, and many of the comments dealt with screening of the parking lot and screening to the neighbors. So we've tried to address each of those comments. First, in the north portion of the site. To the north, as we said, there are residences back down Millbrook Road. Mr. Szymanski has had a discussion with his neighbor. That property that wraps around is all owned by the fudge store, the same owner. And there is an agreement to give a planting easement off our property on that northerly side. And we're providing a solid screen of green giant arborvitaes in that area.
So the neighbor is giving an easement so you can do plantings on their property.
That is correct.
Let's see. Very good idea.
Yep, they're good to work with. On the Millbrook Road side of the property, there was only 2 street trees proposed previously. So to soften up the along the ramp that we're proposing the Millbrook Road, there's soft touch holly along that side. And then along the parking lot, also on Millbrook Road for a screen, there's junipers that we propose, again, along the westerly side of the parking lot. Along the Route 202 side, to screen the parking spaces from 202, there's 2 separate chunks, but there's junipers in those locations as well. And along the easterly side to our neighbor, which is basically, there's lawn directly adjacent to us before you get to the fudge store's parking lot, but we are proposing Japanese holly. And so many of you know that stretch there. Really, all those adjoining businesses really don't, they're older, they've been there forever, haven't been to this board, so they do not have the landscaping that you would prefer. So we think this will, definitely enhance the plan, provide screening of the parking lot, soften the building, and provide screening to our neighbor, and hopefully address several of the comments that Mr. Thomas had. One thing that I would say, and when we get specifically in his report, we did look at plantings that would be basically for a rain garden or bioretention, be along Millbrook Road. Honestly, with the stormwater regs in a lot of areas, it's just tough to do them on a small scale. If you're a developer and can have a maintenance crew who knows how to take care of those, I tell my guys they just have to do it. But it's going to get planted. The odds of it being very successful and looking good over time with the poor soils are not too great. And I'm not sure we could get the volume we need either. So we were not able to do any kind of bio plantings for stormwater, but we did provide those hollies along that edge of the property.
Give John the microphone.
Yeah, Mr. Ardman, I guess, and I may not have been clear, and I guess first of all, that was my first comment was about stormwater management, and I have a note on my sheet here. I always usually end my stormwater management comments with I will of course defer to the township engineer on this.
Understood.
But I guess what I was thinking about was the possibility of something in the northeast corner of the property in the dumpster, because I believe that existing parking area drains toward that back corner and toward the fudge shop property.
So you mean, especially now, if they moved the dumpster and the recycling thing up and cut let's say the concrete pad in half, you'd then have an area.
Well, I think there's a place, John, right adjacent to the existing gravel parking lot. I believe everything drains to the northeast corner of the property in the vicinity of where the shed is. And where the shed was. I thought that was an area that we might kind of enhance the vegetation. It's flowing across a lawn area right now. And I understand that you're meeting the state requirements, but I thought, again, given the increase in the impervious cover on the site, that would be, we could do something on a small scale there that would pick up the water from the vehicular surface. Again, recognizing that it was there before,
right,
but overall we're adding. So that was my question and point. And I haven't talked with Larry about this.
Okay. So, and we can visit that as a potentially condition, work with our staff landscape architect, who I think we've worked with in the past, Jeff Reynolds. And
let me ask you this, if you guys are going to be coming back with revisions,
maybe.
Well, I do want to talk about that because
Microphone, please.
thanks. It's always my practice that before I come before this board, I try to address all of the board's professionals' questions as much as possible,
Right.
which is why we came up with these alternate proposals. And I think we've had good conversations this evening with respect to the reduction of impervious coverage, which I think is a concern of the board. And that means by taking the shed away and the gravel is now going to be inside, all of the storage, even that we were asking for, which is outdoors, is now going to be indoors, which increases our need for that storage area. I guess what I'm saying is we don't want to redesign what we proposed here with the basic part of the building, because my client's testimony is that he needs that, and that's what the development is, and that's what's proposed. We've tried to do everything we can on site otherwise to reduce the impervious coverage. So when you say we're going to come back, we can come back, but we already have this
you
here.
don't have moving the recycling and the dumpster up, cutting the concrete pad in half and putting in the other stormwater / landscaping that Mr. Thomas is suggesting.
Yeah, and I'm suggesting that that could all be made condition of approval, because those are
If the
items.
board wants, then that's being delegated then to basically approval by Mr. Thomas, not the board. But if the board wants to do that, you can, but You don't have to.
And
I
that's,
have a comment.
I'm
I have
sorry.
a comment. So how about Miss Cynthia's suggestion? Because she didn't want to reduce storage. We understood what you said, right?
Yeah.
But she had an
And
additional.
that's, I actually looked at
That's
her
what he's
because,
suggesting.
and
He
I'm,
doesn't
I'm
wanna change.
respectfully suggesting that the footprint of the building that we have now, especially now that we've moved the shed, removed the shed and any storage that was in there is going to be interior and taking the gravel.
Well, any
area.
storage in that shed was interior in the shed. That's
Right.
not outdoor storage.
So,
Correct, but now it's going to be in the storage area that we're proposing now.
so if I
and-
can suggest, so
Sure.
I know you've been before the board before. You're very familiar. But I know the applicant hasn't. We try very hard to make sure our businesses can move forward. And this isn't easy for at least me to try and ask you to change what you have spent money to do and what you want. But when I look at Jessica's report and how there are 7 or 8 items, and I look at John Morgan Thomas's statement around the reduction of landscaping from 40.8% to 32.1%, it just feels like you're trying to fit so much in here, and I'm trying to work with it, but there's just a lot here.
And I guess that's what I'm trying to point out now is that with these last 2 exhibits,
They want to see.
I know, John, but
wanna-
let me just make my case here for a second, okay?
They want to hear the board experts as
I-
they're reviewing. Okay, go ahead.
Thanks. I guess what I'm saying is, in terms of a reconfiguration of the building, that's not something that we're encouraged to do. But I think we addressed the board's concern and the board's professionals'
You
concerns
address
with
the board's
respect to these.
professional concerns, not
Right,
the.
let me just
All right,
finish what I'm
you're
gonna
right, you're
say,
right,
John.
You're right. you're right.
Okay?
Yep,
If what
my
you're,
apologies.
I'm putting it on the record that, if you want us to come back and show this on the formal plan and have your professionals and you take one look at it again, more than happy to do that. But in terms of redoing the building, which honestly is a major expense for a
I
client.
understand, but
That's an issue that we tried to address all those other concerns, but the concerns weren't with respect to the building. It was with respect to these other issues which we tried to address.
so the testimony that I'm hearing isn't matching up, okay? I understand that the salon isn't as busy on a daily basis, and it's different hours than the heating and HVAC system. But testimony is no one really comes to the office. It's going to be the 2 people in the back and the owner. So in looking at this piece of property, I'm trying to figure out all the areas you want. The interior sizes that I'm looking at, and I can only judge by doorways being, what a standard doorway is and what a standard window is. It looks very large. So I'm trying in my head to justify why the applicant needs a foyer and an entryway when not too many people come to the office. Okay, if there are not too many people in the office and you have 2 entryways, so I'm just trying to work with you, and nothing is matching up in what we're discussing.
Okay.
And so that's where I stand.
Okay,
So
no, I
I'm just
appreciate
trying
it.
to explain what I'm trying to.
I
do.
understand what you're saying.
In other words, she's not saying the storage is too big. She's saying the other
I
2 parts are
understand.
too big.
Yeah.
And I understand what's important to him. So I'm just trying to.
Mr. Groomer, to be clear, and I want to be clear so your client understands what Cynthia is saying, but I see a couple other board members shaking their heads in agreement. Not everybody. She's not taking issue with the 540 square feet of the storage room area.
Yeah, I'm not telling you how to run your business. I don't want to cut down on the
She's taking
storage.
issue with, she's saying that it doesn't sound like, from what was presented, that you really need the 272 square feet and the 362 square feet portions of the addition. That's what she's saying.
Not all of it. I mean, the foyer and the entryway, and then the office is on that side. So he could leave his office there. He could just flip the storage area to look differently, back it up and add more, be more in line with what
Right,
we're
correct.
asking for.
What we'd like to do is we'd like to come back. We're going to take a look at it.
Sorry.
No, you know that on behalf of my clients, I'd like to try and work with the
See
board.
what you can do?
What
Yeah, is
what
there-
I would ask, if nothing else, could you please get the inside measurements of the rooms that you're planning? It's very hard for me to figure out this foyer. And again, just so I looked at it, I took a piece of paper. That foyer and entryway is the same size as 4 chairs in the salon. Again, I don't want to tell anybody how to run their business, but it just doesn't sound right to me.
Okay.
And so I'm trying to work with you, and I can't justify it.
Now, I hear what you're saying.
Okay.
So we'll come back, we'll take a look at it. And see-
While you're doing that, I
Nothing
think,
else.
I think John Morgan Thomas's suggestion, very last suggestion where he says, consider a rain garden. He was pointing out the fact that the shed is now gone. I would hope that you would address that
Well,
too.
put it this way,
consider
I
that.
think he's modified his position. He's not necessarily saying it's got to be a rain garden, but it can be something else. Did I hear you say that?
Something like rain garden, since we don't have to meet the kind of the letter of the state standards in developing the rain as a rain garden per
Correct.
se.
It doesn't have to
It
be a
gives us a little more flexibility in how we do it.
Right, doesn't have to be a
Native
technical.
plantings and the like.
Native plantings, and
Right.
we can talk
We-
about
we-
that. It
we
doesn't
can
have
work
to
on that.
be, 3 feet deep bioretention mix, and because
it-
we don't need to meet
and
that,
again-
but I think we can do something meaningful.
Right. To be clear for the record, that would be part of satisfying the negative criterion on the impervious coverage variance, even though you're already lessening the amount, but there's still going to be more than exists now.
And
Right.
that's why I brought the
Got it.
issue up.
Right.
I appreciate that.
And if I could just read in one statement out of John's report that is, again, concerning to me, and that's why I'm asking. He states the minimum landscape area is being decreased from 40.8% to 32.1%, where 45% is required, and hard surface coverage is being increased from 59.2 to 67.9, where 55 is permitted. And I just wanted to read that into the record for Jackie. So again, I'm just trying to give you where I'm at and what I'm trying to work with you on.
Yeah, I think those numbers have changed now that
Yes,
we've
they have.
provided
They probably
this.
have.
And we'll get that info to you.
Yep.
And I would just add that, and this is the first time I've seen the revised landscape plans. I think we're on the right track. We'll have a discussion about kind of plant material. And the other part of it is, I think, again, given the reduction in the area of landscape, I guess what I'm looking for is as little lawn as possible and more other kinds of plantings which have a variety of benefits. So there may be places we can beef this up and, make less area minimize the lawn area that, you need to cut, and it'll improve the, appearance of the property and so forth. But I think there's some environmental. So I think the quality of the vegetation has something to do relative to the area of vegetation.
Okay.
And so the more we can enhance the quality of the vegetation, then I think to a certain extent it can offset the loss of area.
Okay, great.
So we have to pick a date, and we have to know how much time you guys need. No, I understand, but how much time do they need? In other words, if we said, I'm not saying this, but if we said January 19th, is that enough time or not enough time? I assume it's not.
January 19th. They're good, but they're not that.
Right, I'm
I
not
think
trying to,
anybody's
right,
that
I'm not
good.
trying to put any pressure, so.
No.
So how much time do you guys think you need?
Could we do February 16th? Because I'm going to be here already.
What else is on the agenda for February 16th? We've already continued.
Where
It's
my-
Bashir
my-
and.
My client can't be here on the 16th.
Okay, so what's the first meeting in March? March 2nd. Is there anything on that agenda yet? No. You got something. Okay, how about March 16th? Anything on that agenda? No. No, March
We
16th.
just put 2 on, didn't we?
February.
That is them on February 16th. March 16th? Okay, so,
March 16th is good.
so let's make an announcement that the hearing in this matter is going to be continued to March 16 with no need for further notice, with an extension to April 30th.
That's correct.
John, are we going to have an opportunity to review revised sets of drawings?
Yeah, okay, right, good point. So the board has a 21-day rule. So just make sure you have the stuff submitted 21 days prior to March 16.
Mr. Grunberg, I want to thank you and your applicant for your understanding and working with us. We really do appreciate that. And I think the suggestions made by the board members were intended to be as much help to you as they are to us in terms of getting this finished. So, yeah. Thank you. Okay, can I hear a motion to adjourn?
Second.
All in favor? Thank you all.
Yeah. I